That was your intro. You're welcome.
Welcome to this podcast broadcast. Maybe it's a YouTube video. We don't know. If you're listening, welcome. If you're watching, also welcome. This will probably be a one and done because there's no possible way that we could ever continue this level of absolute buffoonery. This is a SMX playoffs preview. We're going to talk 450s. We're going to talk 250s. We're going to talk about these tracks and how it's all going to shake out. I am your host, Brad Gebhart. With me, not so much in studio, but definitely in spirit, the two of these absolute clown shoes are in their respective houses. They're chuckling to themselves. We got MattyB with the crotch shot, the Phil Nicoletti showing you the business down in the corner. But to my left, I have none other than the big boss with the very hot sauce over at Race Tech. You know him as Checkerz. He is the voice of Riesenberg. Chris Riesenberg, how are you, my friend?
Holy crap, it feels good to be back doing one of these, Brad. It's been a little while. Shout out to our guy Debo. Unfortunately, he's not here, but he did give us our blessing to go forward. And well, I'm glad you can add some credibility to the show with Debo's departure, Brad, with your new work with Verboto. At least you're a real journalist, because I'm the industry insider that's kind of an outsider. And then our professional analyst here, MattyB, well, he can't even qualify for a national, but at least he qualifies to be our host on the show, I guess.
He leaves without a trace. He came here tonight to get on your case. He is number 820 in your program. He is absolutely wide open, styling and profiling. He's not a has-been. He's a fucking never was. It's Matt Burkeen.
Let's go. Glad to be here. Let's talk some SMX. Let's talk about something that, hell, I couldn't even qualify for the regular nationals, so SMX wasn't even a thought. I mean, they've been asking for alternates, but we didn't even wait by the phone. We know we're spectating this one. We got the iPhone ready. We'll be there for a little bit of content in Charlotte, and hyped to shoot the shit and break it down with you guys. We got no choice out here.
Oh, we're going to break it down like a Ford F-150, baby. We are going to be moving and shaking. Before we get to essentially the Super Motocross World Championship and all the amazing things that go along with that, we do need to eventually kind of spin the clocks back a little bit and talk about MattyB's the posterior of his his summer. But SMX overview, Checkerz, like, I kind of throw this to you a little bit for the general discussions points. This is going to be unprecedented on many accounts. We have never experienced anything quite like this. This will be new race formatting. Obviously, I think it's going to look a lot like a Supercross as far as like the video package and what we see on race day. But give me a little bit of the rundown on your general thoughts. World Supercross, these final 3 rounds, qualifying procedure, go.
Well, I think that year one is a little scary because it's such an unknown. And honestly, information's come out like to the hardcore fans so late about this. Like literally the rule book just dropped today, and we're less than a week from trucks are going to be pulling in like 2 days, and we finally got a rule book for this thing.
Yes.
That kind of outlines a lot of the specifics. But on the grand scheme of things, I mean, we've had a year of them marketing and promoting this thing as this huge new deal. And let's face it, they signed a 5-year deal. They got a ton of money dumped into the sport. This is our future. And, you know, the qualifying procedure and all of that side of things, well, it was a little bit weird because we didn't know what's going on. But now that we're seeing it shake out, I think in the coming years, it's going to get even cooler. This year, it's kind of going in as a little bit of a crapshoot for everyone. So no one's really super prepared. I'm talking like these bubble guys. They didn't know what to expect. The LCQ guys, they didn't know what to expect. I know that I just saw that PRMX just found out today that they're going to the race. And I mean, this is a race team that's got to show up and deliver. Devin Simonson's going and riding for them. And then they also have Hunter Yoder on the 250. So that's awesome exposure for that team to be involved in the playoffs. But talk about last minute. I mean, do they have Supercross suspension? Were they selling bikes getting ready for next year? I think Julian just got a new rig, for instance. A lot of unknowns, but for the future of the sport is going to be awesome. I think that we learned this year they'll play up that top 20 thing a lot more and maybe not focus so much on that top 30 number and the alternates and that side of things. And it'll be really cool moving forward.
MattyB, give us your thoughts on sort of the qualifying procedure to get in. You were only about 400 points short of getting in yourself.
Yeah, we didn't necessarily have qualification for SMX on our radar for this year, but I mean, it's definitely a cool concept. It's just kind of like you guys have said, it's been kind of wild how everything's kind of come together like really last minute. I mean, I'm leaving to go to the race in like 2.5 days, and just now today we're getting a rule book and starting to figure out like who the riders are and stuff. And I
Yeah,
even
that got announced today at like 2 o'clock.
and I watched the SMX preview deal on YouTube today that they did, the preview show where they released the riders, and now I've seen that even that list has changed a little bit. A couple more guys have backed out, so really it's just it's kind of been a crazy process of like figuring out who does race the playoffs and all. I mean, there's definitely a lot of guys that are outside that top 20 that I guess just said screw it, I'll see you guys next year, but it's a good opportunity for some of those guys that are in it to win it, or are in it to race, I should say. Like we got Simonson getting a last minute call up there. Like you said, Yoder. I think Luke Neese got a spot in the 250s. I'm missing tons of guys, but just some guys like that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Like they're not the factory guys or anything, but they're still going to get a shot at a playoff spot. So it's definitely cool to see. And more than anything, I'm a fan of more racing. I don't necessarily think I don't know what to think about the tracks yet or anything like that, but more racing is always good in my eyes. I am a racer, and racers race, and we're about to watch racers race 3 more times, baby. I'm hyped.
Absolutely. The sport of motocross can be digested a lot of different ways, whether it's at a local level, in full championships, or on a race weekend by race weekend basis, which for the most part, that's how we digest the sport. It's basically like these weekend by weekend tidbits that I'm either going to the race or I'm watching it on TV. And each event is sort of special in its own right. Is that in that moment, like everything's on the line. Like we live and die with the results of these riders. And a lot of times we sort of leave the big championship out of the sort of grand scheme of things. Like that's obviously like the overarching goal, but it's all about right now for the most part. So I'm excited about that side of things. This qualifying situation, like it's obviously unlike a lot of say playoff situations where teams, like if you had a team with a bunch of injuries, well, the team is still going to move forward, even if they might be running with some guys from the minors or something along those lines, or some backups. Like if your quarterback goes down, you're just not going to bow out of the playoffs. You're going to go in there with the backup quarterback and probably get your doors blown off. So this is a little bit different in the fact that you got a guy like Nate Thrasher who more than qualified for this thing, but due to the knee injury, he's like, and he's not the only one that's in the exact same situation. I believe Chance Hymas is in that exact same situation with a blown up knee. He would otherwise qualify. And then so that top 30 is not really the top 30. It's the top 32 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So, and because it's the first year, I think is the really crux as to why they're having a few of those little growing pains. And I'm more than happy to like sort of like the patience of letting them go through that. I think that's just part of it. Like you have to learn. Like if I'm sure they didn't like, oh, the first Supercross season was like 4 races. So there probably wasn't a lot of like things that they could have screwed up there. But I'm sure if you like put that season under a microscope, there'd be some stuff that are like, let's not do that again. Heck, the original reason why motocross is a 2-race format is that the original MXGPs were actually a 1-race format, and fans bitch when their favorite rider's bike didn't make it through the entire race. So they said, let's make it a 2-race format. And that's why we have a 2-race format. You just learned something here on Matt Burkane's YouTube channel. So let's talk about one of the things we're most excited for the SMX. I'm going to weigh in first, and I'll let you guys weigh in as well. Honestly, I'm excited for the tracks. I think these are going to be really neat. I think that they're going to be something different. They're all 3 of them are shaped a little bit differently. A couple of them are going to be more start dependent than others. They're going to figure out different ways to help these guys going through, and the teams are going to be absolutely out in the ringer as far as how to set up bikes. I'd imagine it's probably more on the Supercross side of things. Maybe Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that side of things, but yeah, I think this is going to be really exciting, and I'm most excited to see the tracks. Matt, you get the first pull on this one.
Yeah, I got to be real with you. I wouldn't know about the bike setup because I myself don't have the talent to make it to Supercross, so I don't know much about all that setup. We're outdoor only on the Race Tech Gold valves without a choice. One aspect that I meant to touch on in my opening that I really think is exciting, especially for the riders, is all the purse money. I mean, usually, we only hear about these top guys making big money from, their bonuses from like manufacturers and gear deals, stuff like that. And I mean, take a guy like Grant Harlan, for instance, you know, he could get like 12th overall in the SMX points, and he gets what, like 80 grand or something. And last year at a 2-stroke race, I made 8 grand, and I thought I was rich as hell. And that's 10 times more. I mean, that's so cool for even not just the factory guys, but a guy like Harlan or a Freddie Norin or even Josh Hill, somebody that kind of is more along the lines of running their own program. I think that's really cool. And I think what that'll do for us is there's just going to be so much more incentive with every pass, with every position you gain. These guys are racing for a shitload of money. So I think the aggression is going to be high. I think everybody's going to be absolutely sending it. And kind of like you said about the tracks, like I'm excited for them and I'm not at the same time. I'm excited for the uncertainty just to see how they shape up. And there might even be some rain in the forecast for Charlotte. So that could really throw a wrench in things. But I'm excited for the uncertainty, but I just don't know how good they're really going to be. It's just every hybrid race, every kind of concept like this we've ever seen has kind of not been the best racetrack. But I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I have high hopes for it, being that we haven't seen one yet. And like you were saying, also, you know, there's obviously evolution within the sport and all this stuff that goes on. So it's the first year. There's going to be some growing pains and stuff like that. But if there's growing pains, that might make it even more exciting for us to watch. So I'm definitely ready for it. It's going to be good.
Oh well, Arena Crash knows all too well about growing pains and the things that happen when you try and get faster on a dirt bike in the friendly confines of an arena cross track. Checkerz, what are you excited about for SMX?
I'm excited about the potential growth on the sports side of things and the prestige of this championship. And I know it's really, really difficult for somebody like myself or you guys that's been really close to the sport for so long. And we know how prestigious that Supercross title is. We tune in every Saturday night. We sit in front of our TV. We know every rider. We know all the privateers. But in the world that we live in, it's short attention spans and stuff. Think of how many people don't watch a college basketball game all year long. March Madness starts up and all of a sudden they're filling out a bracket and they're focused in on it for a short period of time. That's the opportunity that we have with the SMX playoffs. And I'm not a spokesman for the series by any means. Like, it has so many flaws. I'll touch on the tracks in a little bit in the next little segment that we have. I'm not sold on them. Like, I'm not like a big cheerleader for it, but I really hope it works because of that, because they can focus on 3 rounds. Here's the deal. If that's where all the money is in the series, that's what the riders are going to start to care about. That's what Feld's going to promote the most. That's going to get the most coverage on TV. Guess what? That's what the sponsors and the teams are going to start to care about. And if they do that and they buy into that, then now we have this 3-race series that is ultra prestigious, the most prestigious one in the class. Not right now, not this year, but in the future. And if that happens, it's not that hard to get a casual fan to tune in for 3 weekends in a row and want to see who wins the championship that maybe isn't going to tune in all year long, or maybe they'll start to tune in here and there. But the fact of the matter is, it gives us an opportunity to potentially grow things. We've seen record turnouts at a lot of the nationals this summer. We've seen great turnouts in Supercross, great viewership. We've seen it all going up. So clearly it's working. That's what has me the most excited. It just takes the industry and the core fans to be sold on it so that they buy into it. But I think from the casual fan standpoint, it's a super big opportunity for us. So that's what has me the most excited.
That is a fantastic point, man. Yeah, that's true. That's going to be awesome.
It certainly will. And I think that's like, we have something to be excited about here, regardless of whether I think that this is going to be an exciting 3 rounds. It's an addition to a series where otherwise we would just sort of be twiddling our thumbs until Motocross Des Nations rocks our world again. And then we would just be the hit parade of finding out who's riding where. I'm sure everyone can't wait to figure out where MattyB is racing next year. It'll probably be the Canadian Nationals. I think he'd do half decent.
Or the LCQ.
Or the LCQ, absolute. So before, like, we need to talk about these hybrid tracks. Like I said, I'm excited for them. There's been certain races that it does sort of work out. I can sort of get the tone from the two of you guys that you're not a fan of it. In fact, Matt, you already said that. I'll go with you, Checkerz. Why is it that you're not a big fan of these tracks? Like, you kind of already dove into it, but I need you to get a little bit deeper for me.
Well, as you know,
it's the last time I'm ever going to tell you that.
We've done enough of these shows that you know that I'm always very critical of the racetracks. Coming from my background as a track designer, it's just something I'm really interested in. And what makes a good track for me is good opportunities for options and passing. What happens with the hybrid tracks is the most passing in Supercross, and the place to make up the most time is the whoop section. On an outdoor track, the place to make up the most time and make passes is the rough stuff and the ruts and elevation. SMX takes all of that out of the equation, and then you're left with a lot of follow the leader. Now, here's the thing. How do you get rough and ruts? Well, you got to dig the track super deep, get it gnarly wet. When they're bringing in onto a drag strip, 18 inches of dirt or so, well, they can only dig it 6 inches if they dig it at all. It makes it really difficult to get those big bumps in the big rough. So then you're just left with a lot of straightaways and a faster Supercross. What I will say is, if we've seen with those Atlanta tracks, they're super exciting to watch on TV as far as just the speed that they go and some of the obstacles and the angles, because they're not just going down and back so much. That stuff is super cool, but it doesn't make for good racing. And when I say good racing, it's not close racing, because honestly, the hybrid tracks, they're so easy typically that it's follow the leader. And so 1st to 10th is super close together, but there's not a lot of jockeying for position back and forth in those positions. However, it could be a little bit better, because at least we're not stuck in Las Vegas with the hybrid track like we were with the Monster Energy Cups. With the hard pack dirt, we might be able to get at least a little bit of good dirt. But again, and not in the venues that don't have the ability to go like into a grass section where they can rip it, I think they have their work cut out for them. It's going to be super, super difficult to make a good racetrack, which means they're going to be super start dependent. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that they figure it out. The one really nice thing about the Charlotte round is they have that Friday practice. And what I've seen is, when we did Salt Lake City and they barely changed the track from like Tuesday to Thursday, and they just tweaked it to make for better racing, potentially they can watch it on Friday and make small changes before qualifying on Saturday to tweak it and maybe balance some lines out and create some passing opportunities. Fingers crossed. I don't want to be super negative on it before we see it, but so far I haven't been sold on hybrid tracks, and that is why.
Matt, go.
So funny enough, I actually initially, whenever I heard about SMX, I was kind of hyped about the tracks, especially when I saw the maps. I was like, oh man, like those look cool. But I knew nothing about this video podcast, whatever we're doing. I knew nothing about this until a few days, but for the last few months or however long he's been talking about it, our very own at Checkerz448 on Twitter and social media has been making a lot of really good points about the track that he just brought up for us right now. And honestly, the more he's talked about it, the more I've agreed with him, just how it doesn't really make for the best racing. And even like those Atlanta Motor Speedway rounds, like I don't even think they're that cool to watch, just personally. Like I like the stadium Supercross a lot better. I think it's a lot more exciting. And I mean, just to me, maybe it's because I race and don't really care about watching speed, but I don't really care how fast they're going. Like I just want to see some action personally. But will be interesting to see, like you said, if they do any changes from Friday to Saturday. I will actually have boots on the ground on Friday in Charlotte. I'll be trying to bring you guys some iPhone content, so I'll give you guys a little preview on the first look of what the track and what the riders are looking like out there. But I think of the 3 tracks, I'm personally a lot more excited about the Coliseum than the rest of them, just because I think it'll be a cool little homage to the past of how they're going up and through the peristyle and back down. I think that'll be cool, and it'll just be something different. That's really the thing that excites me the most, is just doing something different.
It will certainly be a nod to the very first Super Bowl of motocross way back in 1972, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 74?
Shout out to Larry Brooks. He's still flipping down the peristyle right now.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure that it was Larry Brooks that when the series ushered in, when I believe it was Jimmy Ellis on a Can-Am.
Gosh, not in 72, but he had a big peristyles. Am I right, Checks? I'm not.
Yeah. Oh no, you're 100% right.
The bottom. Yard sale.
Yeah, that was scary. It is now time for the Race Tech Rapid Recap. That's right, 2023 Motocross and Supercross, they're in the books. Those things are in the rearview mirror. And before we really talk about the SMX playoffs, we need to talk about how we got here. So and before we get to that, we need to thank our friends over at Race Tech. Of course, Checkerz, he works at Race Tech. And we're basically doing this on the company dime. So thanks, Paul, for making this whole thing happen. MattyB, he rides, sometimes races in the LCQs lately with the Race Tech. And of course, myself, I recently bolted on some fresh Race Tech gold valves. I haven't yet had a chance to do any riding due to my strenuous work schedule over at Verb Moto, but that changes this Wednesday. Did you know that Racetech is privateer proven with gold valves that provide plush feel with drastically improved bottoming resistance and increased traction? And also, did you know that Racetech's engine service department provides engine services to everyone from the average rider, some of the nation's fastest tuners, as well as multiple factory teams throughout the industry? And no, we can't tell you who it is. Let's go straight into the 450 motocross recap. This will be real quick. But before we start, Checkerz, I believe you have some words.
Matt, I my words are really, really simple. It's two of them. What happened? What happened with your motocross season? It was freaking rolling. You're qualifying on a two-stroke, kicking ass, and then you got your ass kicked instead.
That's going to be a question I'm going to be wondering about for a while now. I mean, it started out great, and if anybody that's followed along with me, if you've been following along with me, you would know like my whole year up until Nationals was a disaster. I was about to not even do the Nationals, and then last second, right at the end of Supercross, when everybody, their mother, brother, cousin, and goldfish were getting hurt and laying themselves out SX course, I figured, screw it, man. Like, I might as well go give it a try. So we set out west by myself, tracked out there. We did the first 4 rounds. They went really good. And then we started having some bike problems through the middle rounds, got sick at Southwick, and I was probably going to struggle there anyways because I'm not a very good sand rider. I just don't ride in it very much. So that whole day was basically just a write-off, but we still tried. Then I went up to the land of South Canada, aka Minnesota, up to your neck of the woods, and got I actually still have a court case pending against Mount Martin for I'm not going to go any further than that. You guys can read between the lines there. But Mount Martin did us dirty then, and then Washougal lost a radiator hose in practice, torched my motor. So a lot of that stuff wasn't my fault, but some of it was. We still lost some talent along the way, and then we had to go back to the stock motor for Unadilla and Buds, which was basically like pissing in the wind for 2 rounds, and swallowing piss ain't very fun. So we got the race motor back for Ironman just for me to promptly do a total front flip right onto my noggin. I think I'm still laying there right now. I might even be dreaming right now, but yeah, we ended the season on a low, and we're concussed. We're totaled as far as the ribs go. It should buff out eventually, but unfortunately, I don't see any riding in my immediate future. I'm probably going to have some time off, so hopefully that will allow the scarring of my failure of a national season to wear off. So maybe I can recoup some of that talent, because I was watching the video from the Cody Gregg 2-stroke race that I won last year. I was watching that earlier this afternoon, and I was telling my girlfriend, like, I don't even know what it's like to ride like that anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like a head case now or something.
I hate that for you.
Constant confidence builders that I'm giving you aren't helping too much, huh? At least you went out with a bang.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I went out with having to hang out in cell block C of the freaking Asterix mobile or Alpine Stars mobile medic unit. Excuse me. But yeah, not exactly how we wanted to end it. But after I watched my crash, I am pretty glad that I'm as okay as I am. I mean, I did totally front flip myself, so I would not recommend that to the you guys watching at home. That's not something I would try at home. But yeah, I'm not sure what the future is going to hold as far as racing, but hopefully it holds a lot less of that, because I ain't getting any younger, and I'm not growing any more brain cells flipping through the air like that.
Fair enough. Well, we were supposed to break down 450 motocross. We just did 8 minutes on the absolute calamity that was MattyB's posterior of his season. Let's talk about this 450 motocross series. Matt, I'll start with you. Jet goes perfect. Go.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you really say about it? The dude literally, I think the only time he even messed up at all was at High Point. He had that mistake where he went down and still got up and won the moto with ease. It just, the whole season, you know, obviously, as we just talked about, I had the privilege to watch over half the rounds from the sidelines and filming and all that. So I got to pay a lot of attention to it. And it always seemed like Jet had another gear. Like I noticed him doing something that I noticed Mike Brown does a lot. He's obviously a legend that's been around forever. And I noticed Jet is just looking back all the time. And I think he's monitoring the gap, and B, I think he uses it to try to see where exactly he's gaining or losing time. And I think that's kind of how Brownie does it too. But that's something I noticed. He's just looking around a ton. And it just shows how smart he is. Like he's literally looking back like every few turns, every few straightaways to see if he's good or bad in that section of the track, and then he'll adjust on the fly, and then next thing you know, he's pulling away. So it was definitely incredible to watch. And even when I did have the privilege of retaining enough talent to make the motos, when he would come by and lap me, it was like you couldn't even hear him coming. And I guarantee you, my RPMs were higher than his, and I was going half the speed. I mean, it's crazy to watch. I shouldn't say he tries half as hard, because obviously he's trying as hard as he can, but he uses like a quarter of the energy to go twice as fast as I do. It's pretty impressive.
That it certainly is. And the fact that I probably wouldn't be able to hold on to your rear fender is a testament to not only how slow I am, but how fast Jet Lawrence truly, truly is. Now, Checkerz, Chase, he did challenge, and thanks to the report from his mechanic Brandon Zimmerman, when the bike came back after each moto, he only had to wash the back half because the front had already been washed.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to me to look at how fast Chase was going, the speed that he had, how gnarly his season was last year, chasing Tomac, and the fact that he kept it together most of the season going that pace. But to try to match or outmatch Jet's pace, that he just couldn't do it. I'm a little bit in disbelief that he couldn't put it together for at least one moto with the speed that he had. It was a great challenge. It was really cool to hear after the last race, like Chase didn't make excuses or anything. He literally said he was going all out and he couldn't get it done. I personally hope that he's convinced himself that it's outdoors only and he didn't agree with his bike, so that mentally he can reset going into SMX first, that hey, it's more Supercross like, I'm a challenger again, and more importantly going into the 24 season of, hey, it's the Honda that's been my problem, I'm getting on this fresh KTM, it's going to be awesome, I'm going to be good. And that's what he needs to be telling himself. It doesn't mean I believe it, but he needs to believe that.
That's
moving
definitely
forward.
I promise you that he believes that.
He's absolutely has to. Now, so you've got Dylan Ferrandis, obviously, Jason Anderson, Bam Bam. These guys have developed quite a bit of momentum late in the season. Give me some thoughts on that there, Matt. These guys, like, they've got a lot of pride. They work really hard with their craft, and thanks to Supercross SMX, they've got a new lease on life.
Yeah, definitely. With Dylan, it's kind of a weird season with him going out towards kind of the beginning of Supercross. I figured he was going to have plenty of time to prep and come in really hot. Like I figured he would be one of the contenders for sure outdoors, but he just came in a little slow. I guess the concussion and the injuries he had in Supercross held him up a little bit longer than we all thought. So he came in a little bit under the gun. And obviously I think we've all heard that he wasn't the most happy with the 2023 Yamaha 450 this year. I know they made it a little more nimble, and I think it's a little bit more suited to Supercross compared to the 22 model. So I think he struggled a little bit with that. And then, as some of us have probably heard too, he doesn't even have anything set in stone for next year. So the future is pretty uncertain, and it's just a weird time to be Dylan Ferrandis. And he did come on strong. Like Red Buddy had some really good rides. Unadilla, he was really good. It seemed super inconsistent, and we never really got that Dylan danger zone that old Weege always is talking about. But I'm not sure what to expect out of him for SMX. I'm just not sure where the motivation's at, or whether he even wants to continue racing. I know he's talked about retirement, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Obviously, Bam Bam will be good. I'm sure we will be seeing some red plastic rubbed on a number of riders, although I did see we've got some new penalties that could be issued for rough riding and all kinds of stuff. So that'll be interesting to watch to see if he's on his best behavior or not. But I think Bam Bam's in a good position. He's probably fresh since he got to take most of the outdoors off. I think he had some complications with his injury too, so that set him out a lot longer than he has been, or a lot longer than he meant to be. So he might be peaking right at the right time. Same with Anderson. He had half the summer off, so he shouldn't be totally cooked into submission. I think he should still be pretty fresh. I think he's got another year with Cowie, so there's no turmoil or anything there. I think he should be on a good path, and yeah, he's gonna have to send it for Siggy, man. No choice.
Absolutely. You know what? One note on Dylan Ferrandis. All I'll say is I've never seen a rider who's talking anything about retirement then go out and have his best days. So I think that's all I really need to say on how I feel the future will go for young Dylan Ferrandis. Let's talk about the privateer invasion. And there is more than a couple of bullet points to get to on this side of things, because on the 450 side of things, it was the year of the privateer, even sometimes on two strokes, thanks to our friends not only Matt Burkeen, but a guy named Jared Lesher. The two of them at one point were battling tooth and nail. We even had a number of two strokes at the Washougal National. Feels like forever ago since that moto happened. Although your steaming engine, Matt, is probably baked into your mind, as I would imagine when you melt down an engine like that, it's also baked into the plastics. Starting with Jerry Robin and Grant Harlan. Checks. These two guys. Jerry, obviously, right at the beginning of the year, he was hot, and Harlan, honestly, the guy turned heads all summer.
Well, really, I mean, a couple of years ago, we had the summer of Rodbell. Well, this was the year of Hard Dog. I mean, Grant absolutely has been crushing it, exceeding expectations all season long. And I mean, this is a guy that a year ago was struggling to make 250 main events, and he's become a solid top 10 contender in the 450 class with good guys on a very privateer budget program. Super awesome to see. I really hope he can carry this momentum into SMX and retain a top 10 spot, because holy crap, the financial influx of that could go into his program moving forward would be such a game changer for Grant Harlan. And then, I mean, it was just nice to see Fast Jerry return. I'm a big Jerry Robin fan, and honestly, he hasn't had a really good year since our first year working together. So when I got to know him, and I think he finished all but one moto that outdoor season, which was like a huge deal to him. And this one was going even better. I mean, he was up in the top 10 and just absolutely ripping. I know when he went east, he said his bike setup was not nearly as solid as it was out west. And then by the time he was probably figuring that out, he had a freak elbow deal with an infection and stuff. But watch out come SMX time for Jerry Robin. The dude can lay it down, and knowing it's only 3 races, and him being on a 450, who knows what this guy can pull off, but he's got to get out of those LCQs to do it.
Absolutely, he needs to. And I honestly, I think that Grant has the speed to. I think he's a good starter, aside from that, obviously, that huge pileup. And I think it was Hangtown.
Hangtown was
yeah, that was absolutely hectic. One of the guys, Matt, I wanted you to sort of dive into a little bit is a guy named Masterpool. Ty Masterpool was if it wasn't Harlan, it was Ty Masterpool being the story of the summer. I guess Jet sort of stole that with going absolutely perfect. But you know what? I think that Masterpool got a magazine cover before Jet in 2020 in 2023. Like it was incredible to see. And again, places like Colorado, he was giving Adam Cianciarulo all he could handle. In fact, even beating him. So give us some hot takes on a guy who really turned some heads this year.
Well, real quick, another point to touch on about Harlan. Like Chris was saying, he was having problems with qualifying for 250 Supercross mains. Not only that, even last summer in 450 outdoors, he was kind of struggling to make motos in some rounds. Like I know I watched an LCQ at Unadilla that Harlan won, and I wasn't even in it on my 2-stroke, and I think I qualified either right in front of him or right behind him, like most of the rounds. So that improvement is straight up just staggering, especially, I mean, he was lapping me even when I was having good races this year. So that's been super impressive from Harlan. I love to see it because obviously he's working hard and it's paying off. So good for him. Masterpool, whenever he jumped up to the 450 class, I myself was pretty bummed because that was right after Paulo, where the 250 class was just insanely hard. And then we kind of had that influx of guys going from 250 to 450 with Masterpool and Marchbanks and guys like that. But even though it put me another spot back, it was really cool to see because obviously he was struggling on the 250. It's just hard to do that with a privateer budget. And I remember even after the first practice, he moved up to the 450s at Hangtown. He was like P5 or something. So he was really fast right off the bat. He's got tons of speed. The fitness seems to be good. It was too bad. I'm not sure if everybody knows this or not, but I guess he had appendicitis at Ironman. I actually was at the Alpine Stars medic unit whenever he was talking about what was going on, and I didn't know it at the time, but the dude was acting like he was fine, and apparently he had appendicitis, so he's definitely a gnarly dude. I'm not sure what to think of him on the 450 and Supercross just because he hasn't done a whole lot on the 250 and Supercross. So typically guys don't go from doing nothing on the 250 to doing something on the 450. But we did just talk about Grant Harlan. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. And even one more point about Jerry Robin. I think a lot of his motivation for having that great start to the summer, and unfortunately it fell apart, but a lot of that motivation was from what we're talking about right now, and that's SMX. He he had his eyes on that. If you get last place in SMX points, it's 25 grand. So I know that was motivation for guys like him and even some other guys that we saw switch to the 450 class, and other guys like Nichols, McElrath, and all those guys that just jumped in to some random outdoors. Everybody's got their sights set on SMX. It's going to be good.
Certainly they do. And a couple of guys who I don't think we're going to see lining up, at least I know one of them won't be there, is Jose Butron. He's bowed out, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe didn't get enough points, or he just decided he wasn't going to race it or didn't try for it. Yeah, he's not doing it. But Team Wildcat was on the loose, Checkerz. These guys were absolutely on rails, and had guys like, usually it's like the privateers who are reading name bars to like, oh man, like this so and so is passing me or whatever like that. And I'm sure for certain races, Adam Cianciarulo was like, he's reading name bars being like, who the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it drew more attention because it was a team and two riders doing well, but also because they have a badass name like Wildcat Racing. It is unfortunate that they were on the loose. Butron, like 40 years old. I think he's like 38 actually. A long time race tech ripper, by the way. Tons of championships back home aboard the Race Tech Gold Valve. So I've known about him for a long time. Comes on over, and really he said he wants to do this for a few years, and it was just a dream that he wanted to do. So that's super cool. And then Lorenzo Locurcio kind of putting the program together, reviving his career a little bit. But unfortunately the Wildcats are no longer on the loose. Animal control came in. Locurcio got hurt. Butron got put in a cage and got told no Supercross. So we don't get to see them until hopefully next year when the Nationals hit and the Wildcats can break free again.
Love it. Quick question for the resident privateer on this podcast. And honestly, I would consider myself a privateer too, because I'm so privateer, I don't even race the Nationals. Matt, are Marchbanks and Frederick Norin, are they privateers? Because they get a lot of support. They don't run out of the truck. They got gear deals, the whole 9 yards. One of them gets as much Twisted Tea as you could possibly imagine. Are they privateers?
Man, I feel like that's the impossible question to answer, because, like, what is a privateer? I mean, if you want to compare them to me, absolutely not. No, they're full factory. But if you compare them to, there's some top level privateers out there, some lower, or, like B-level type teams. I don't really know whether you're supposed to call those factory or not. I kind of thought about this question for a while earlier, and I kind of think if any of the two are factory, I think it would be Freddie, just because Twisted Tea is kind of like the Suzuki effort. So I think Freddie is kind of factory, but then again, that's not really his full-time ride. He's kind of a fill-in. So I don't really know what to classify him. But as far as Marchbanks, like, I have no idea what Club MX's deal with Yamaha is or how the support works or anything like that. But I would kind of think that he's more of a privateer than Freddie, just because, the Yamaha team is star. So Club is obviously a step below that in some capacity. But either way, if you compare them to me, no, they're top-notch factory. But I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of what exactly is a privateer and how exactly to answer that question. But that's just kind of my take on it.
Checkerz, what are your thoughts? Same question. This is a question that although the things we need to get to are long and distinguished, like my Johnson, I need you to weigh in on this as well.
I'm going to give them credit as being a privateer. In Marchbanks' case and Norin's case, if they weren't getting support from the OEMs, but I believe Club gets at least their motorcycles and some parts from Yamaha and is a direct. If Yamaha, when they announce their teams, I believe they announce Club as one of their teams that is somewhat factory supported, although they don't have the unobtainium parts. And the same could be said for Freddie Norin. I don't believe that Suzuki's sending them any parts from Japan or anything like that, but they are receiving OEM support. I don't know that line. There's really three levels. There's, I would say, A teams, B teams, and C teams. I don't want to name who is what level, because I'm going to piss people off. So you just put them where you think that they should go. I don't think it really matters, other than the fact that they're not making a huge amount of money out of a big truck, and they put in very impressive results all summer long. I think that's what's actually important. Whether they're privateers or not, I would say, are not your typical title contenders that were battling with guys that you would expect to be title contenders.
Totally agree. Yeah, there's a million ways to sort of analyze this and figure out who gets what. And the honestly, the real reason why we can't answer that question is because there is no transparency as far as like what type of support is offered to who and how much money and this, that, and everything. Amount of products being changed hands and stuff like that. I don't think we'll ever get the answer to any of that. So until then, we continue to speculate. Last piece of review or looking back at the outdoor championships is honestly for this and this SMX thing is honestly is why we're doing this show. It's also why we have to thank SMX for bringing all of these international guys over, the Harry Coulisses of the world, like the Jose Butrons of the world. This made the AMA National Championship, which is it's a national championship, but this is a World Supercross Championship for like maybe more so than ever. The fact that we had, I believe, 60 different nations being, or 60 different riders from different nations, representing different nations, racing this championship. It was an uptick of, I think, 4 or 5 times as many international riders as you normally see. And I would love to see more of it. And I think that like having motocross there as a sort of a supplementary series that like non-Americans can come over, show off their skills, I think is a really cool thing. Like you're getting guys who otherwise wouldn't come over, throw their hat in the ring because there's money to be made.
Yeah, quite the story of the summer, really, with the World Championships. I mean, you had the Lars Van Berkel story that was just amazing as well. We already talked about the Wildcat racing. Plus, you have, of course, Jet Lawrence dominating the thing from Australia. And Dylan Ferrandis is such a good rider, a former champion. You know, you have the Ken Roxons of the world, you know, like it is a true world championship. And that's super good as well, because it's getting eyeballs from around the world to start watching our Super Motocross World Championship.
Super Moto. I still don't love the name, but that I'll just call it SMX. Let's go with SMX. So to finally tabulate the top 10 points, obviously you had Jet Lawrence out front, Dylan Ferrandis, AP in the 3rd place spot, Chase Sexton in 4th after missing multiple nationals. It's actually incredible to think that he missed multiple rounds and still finished ahead of Adam Cianciarulo. Marchbanks with a 6, which is fitting because I feel like every single overall that he had was about a 6th-ish. Masterpool 7th, Norin 8th, Anderson 9th. He had some good motos up at the end of things. It's amazing he was actually able to climb into 9th after missing as many rounds as he did. And then you had Hardog, Grant Harlan in the 10 spot. Final question for you clowns is, does the outdoor momentum, like if you had some good races toward the end of the outdoor season, does that mean anything going into SMX? Go with you, Matt.
I don't really think so. I just feel like it's so much different. I mean, outdoors are just so hot, rough, long, brutal. And I mean, like Chris said, I don't know if it's going to get that gnarly, rough, brutal type aspect to it. And that it's just such a different type of riding going from that to Supercross. And even though they want to say it's hybrid, like I think we do know that it's probably going to be leaning more towards the side of Supercross just because of where the location is. So honestly, I'm not too sure what to think about it. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Certainly will be. Quickly to touch on 2023 Supercross, obviously you had Sexton with your championship. He took that away from Eli Tomac thanks to a Achilles tendon. Who knows what would have happened after that? I think Tomac had that thing pretty locked up, but anything can happen in Supercross. It was proven this last year with Sexton grabbing that championship. Tomac in 2nd place. He will not be joining us for SMX. That is an absolute bummer, but it does sound like he's making a pretty speedy recovery. So I would expect him to be at full power going back. When he's back to riding, he should be probably back to full speed, or at least some version of full speed already in December of this year. Cooper Webb will be back probably on a blue bike. Ken Roxon, he was 4th place in Supercross. I wouldn't be surprised to see him race some SMX rounds. Justin Barsha rounds out your top 5. Anderson, AP, Justin Hill. Quickly, are we going to see Justin Hill in these rounds in SMX?
I mean, I just assumed yes, because there's no WSX rounds that cross over, even if they're with the full schedule before. So,
right. Okay.
I would assume that Team Tedder will support him. He might just be on a black Kawasaki instead of a black Husqvarna or KTM potentially. I don't know.
Maybe he ends up on a black Triumph that got released today.
If he likes money, he'll be there.
I don't see him not being there.
Fair enough. AC and then Dean Wilson, who again I would assume is also there. Let's revisit some storylines to remember from the season that was. Reading this like I'm not supposed to.
Just read the headline part. The
Okay.
first part you already touched on Tomac a little bit, so
Fair
you
enough.
can jump
Sexton.
right down to Sexton with Matt.
Okay. Sexton captures crown. Matt, go.
Yeah, I mean, what a season from the dude. 6 wins, 13 podiums. Was only outside the top 5 once and was never outside the top 10, which those statistics are honestly kind of crazy when you think about all the lawn dart auger moves that Chase did throughout Supercross. I mean, I swear it was like every other weekend for a while. Every time the crowd would roar, I was like, dang it, where did he crash? But I mean, the dude never gave up. He's an absolute soldier. Just clearly a total digger. He's just like hardcore. Doesn't never backs down no matter how many times he crashes. And I mean, he did get a little bit of luck, obviously, with Cooper and Eli going out. And I think Tomac going out with something like that is something that we never thought we'd see, especially from a guy like Tomac. But I mean, he rang true the classic phrase, you got to be in it to win it. And no matter how many times Chase's face at the dirt, he still got up, still got back in it, and made it all through all 17 rounds, and did it pretty much all inside the top 5 too, even after crashing. So I guess that's kind of the luxury you have whenever you have that much more speed over everybody else. You can hit the dirt and still make it happen.
Certainly. Checkerz. Webb was a contender. The guy had a chip on his shoulder. He was riding unreal for the majority of the season. I was impressed to see what I saw on a bike that, let's be honest, he was not agreeing with the bike, the team, or anything else in between, but still going pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be talked about. It was a huge storyline that, coming in, I remember doing our previous shows, I don't even think we had Webb in the top 5. Like, we'd totally written him off as a group when we did it. So for him to not just be back in the mix, but he was a title contender. He was 14 of 14 top 5s before his injury. He had a couple wins. He had 9 podiums. But the one thing that I want to focus on is, we talked about this clutch gene that he has and how good he is. Well, as soon as he was battling for the title and it was starting to come down to that home stretch, he went 4-4-5 in his last 3 races before he got hurt. He was off the podium, kind of declining. That has me super concerned. Now he's also riding a new motorcycle. We'll talk about that more when we come in. But it was Cooper Webb was back. He was legit. He was awesome. And hey, you said Yamaha, but it could be the best April Fool's joke ever. And he shows up back on a KTM. It's not going to happen, but that'd be pretty funny.
MattyB. Roczen kicked ass, and I do mean kicked, and he kicked, and he kicked, and he kicked, and sometimes the damn thing started. The guy got himself a win. There was someone who was on a version of this show who said it would never happen. He got, I think, 6 podiums. Unbelievable season for Ken Roczen. Like, obviously, we're gonna see him at SMX. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I got a lot in common with Kenny. We both have to kickstart our bikes, and I feel like we're 2 of the got to do that. So, I mean, it's kind of been quiet from Kenny. I don't know what you guys have heard, but I feel like it's been a while since we've even really seen any videos. Like, I haven't seen anything of him riding Supercross. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's doing it, but I just feel like usually with Kenny, if he's feeling good, he's the kind of guy who's like, I got to show everybody how good I am and how good I'm looking and this and that. We haven't really seen anything, so maybe it's just a new tactic from him in his wiser, older years. I'm not sure, but we all know as long as he shows up and is even remotely the Ken Roczen we know, he'll be a contender. He's just oozes talent. I mean, he showed up at the high point apparently just because his son said, "Hey, Dad, you should go race," and the dude comes out and gets like second. So I'm not sure where the prep's at. Obviously, he's got that. Obviously, he's got that World Supercross stuff hanging over his head. Probably, we all know that series is kind of in limbo right now. So hopefully, he can weed out all those distractions, and he'll definitely be a contender, especially if he can get out front and sprint away in those early laps. That's what he's good at, and it should be good for him. I'm excited to see how he stacks up.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. All right, boys, it's time to put you guys against each other a little bit. It's time for some friendly competition brought to you by Verb Moto in a game we're calling Wiener Wiener Chicken Diener, baby. This is going to be awesome. This is brought to you by Verb and the Verb Classic, which is going to be unbelievable. Next level 101 in South Carolina, September 15th to 17th, and all the hot dogs you can possibly handle, as many of them as you can handle at all at one time. If someone ate 3 hot dogs in one go at the Washougal this last weekend. That looked delicious / disgusting. But this is going to be MattyB versus Checkerz, and how we're going to, at the end of SMX, we're going to tabulate the points and figure out how all of this shook out. You get 1 point for every answer you got correctly on this. So let's go straight into this thing, and a quick moment of silence and a nod to Denny Stevenson, who tried ever so hard but got so few points throughout Supercross. The wheels kind of came off the card about what, 5, 6, 7 rounds in there, where we weren't able to communicate with Denny anymore, and I guess he didn't tabulate any points after that. But yeah, it was good while it lasted, right, Chex?
Yeah, and it's so much more refreshing to have Matt on the show. Like, he even said earlier, like, he's been listening to me and he agrees with what I said and that I had good points. The vibe is so much higher with Matt here.
No, absolutely. Plus, like, just the general level of intelligence is just appreciated.
Yeah. Now you're just making fun of me. I know that intelligence comment wasn't serious. That's messed up.
Well, given the fact I'm talking about somebody who is currently recovering from a head injury, that's really all I need to say about that. Question number 1. Does Team Honda continue to sweep and grab the SMX title in the 450 class? Matt, I'll let you take this one first.
I hate to be boring, but history often repeats itself. I'm going yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there's never been a SMX title before, so history can't really repeat anything. But
I just mean this year. But yeah, okay. You got a point. You got a point.
Checks. You can answer yes and also get the point, but you can be contrarian. And if Honda does not sweep the championship, although they do have 2 pretty good runners right at the top, you could steal this one from Matt if you so choose.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna argue against why Honda would not win it. And that is good. The Jet has not lost on a 450, and every time he wins, the pressure goes up. And he has that in his head of, man, you could see the release after the last national, but that pressure is going to go right back on of, well, can he do it in Supercross? Can he do it in Super Motocross? Chase is better. He's the defending Supercross champion. Can he beat him? That's additional pressure put on Jet Lawrence. At some point, that pressure has to release, and at some point, he has to lose. I mean, he can't win forever. I mean, he might win for a long time, but not forever. And Sexton, I mean, he's already shown how he could lose it. He can tuck the front, son. But I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think that Team Honda continues their run. I could make an argument against it. I could see how they couldn't. The problem is I don't see who can step up high enough to beat somebody on Team Honda without absolute disaster, with them having the two top dogs going into this.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for arguing the point against them doing it, but still reneging and going with a Honda at the front, some way, shape, or form. I think those 2 guys are probably going to be your 1-2. Although, who knows? Maybe Adam Cianciarulo comes out of absolutely nowhere and just like waxes these 3 events. I would love to see it. Question number 2: does Webb return to stardom and end up top 3 at the end of the series points after switching to a brand new look? Checkerz, you have the floor.
I am not sold on the fact of switching to a new motorcycle, going to new racetracks, and Webb's motivation level. We saw him come out in Supercross doing better and moving forward and all of those things, only to switch teams in the middle of the season. And I don't see it. I find it really hard. I mean, we saw this when he found success before. He had the summer off and it didn't do him well. I mean, he came in, I remember the helmet with the chubby dude on the back and saying couch potato or whatever. And honestly, for Cooper Webb, he looked like a couch potato out there. Don't get me wrong. He's still a badass. I don't have him in my top 3 at the end of this thing.
You don't have him in top 3. Matt, do you have Cooper Webb in your top 3?
I do, actually. Call me a believer. I think part of this just comes from my knowledge of Coop on a personal level, but I don't think he'd be out there and, revamping the program, moving shop down towards where the star guys are and doing all these changes. I don't think he would do all this stuff if he wasn't motivated to go win. I think he's the kind of guy, whenever he doesn't think or whenever he realizes he's not going to be able to win or doesn't want to go all in anymore, I think he's just going to be done. So I think he's going to be up there. Obviously, he's had a little bit more time to prep than these guys because they've all been sweating it out outdoors, and he's been getting accustomed to the new whip. I heard even one of the Deegan vlogs got axed because Coop was in the background on the star bike. So he's been out there. He's been grinding. He'll be ready. And like you guys said earlier in the show about that chip on his shoulder, that thing's never been bigger. And he's got a point to prove. And whenever he's got a point to prove, that's whenever he's lethal. So he's definitely in my top 3.
Thank you for confirming the story that I had heard about the vlog. But we do love Deegan around here. He is in the lightning rod. Yeah, honestly, I think just so I can chime in, I can't actually score points, but let's be honest, if I could, I would beat both of you guys. I don't put Cooper Webb in the top 3, but I do put him in my top 5. He is going to show up, and he is going to have, he's going to be in the right headspace. He's going to be confident. He's going to be motivated, and he's going to crush it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Let's go versus style with this one. Let's one of you guys is gonna have to pick one, and the other one is going to have to pick the other, and may the best rider win. Who beats who after the 3 races? Aaron Plessinger or Jason Anderson? Matt, we'll let you pick first.
All right, good, because I am not budging on my pick. I'm going AP all day. He loves the speed. He'll be yelling, screaming, praising Dale, the whole 9 yards. AP for president, baby.
Okay. Quick note. You did watch the press conference from today, correct?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask if you saw me asking James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael questions about SMX, but I didn't have anything about this year. I specifically asked them if SMX was happening in 2005 and 2006. Humbly, I think it was the best question in the entire press conference.
I like it.
Thank you, sweetheart. I have a delicious Summersby being delivered to me. That's not an ad. No free ads.
I'm gonna have to deliver my phone charger in a minute, boys. I'm about to be zapped.
Yeah, that's why I asked you if your phone was fully charged before we started this thing. And yeah, definitely get a phone charger happening for your current situation.
While Chris is answering, I'm getting a phone charger.
All right. Christopher, make your case as to why you're picking Jason Anderson.
Zapped like the second half of MattyB's season, and zapped like his pick of AP, because guess what? Jason Anderson is building momentum. And guess what? We talked about how the tracks were going to be flat, not super ruddy and stuff like that, because they can't dig it deep, but yet they still always build these flat corners. They don't berm them up and stuff. There's not anyone in the field, maybe other than Vince Freezy, that can go through a flat corner faster than Jason Anderson. He is going to come out swinging. 3-race series, tons of money on the line, so he can support buying the diapers, buying the baby clothes, buying the baby shoes. Yes, AP is ripping right now. He rips at speedways, but Jason Anderson will absolutely punt him over a berm if he has to for $5 extra and more bragging rights. Give it up for the number 21, Jason Anderson. He is going to be a ripper at SMX.
Can I just say that I think, honestly, the gear, does he still run the Arrow helmet? Yeah, that thing's ugly as sin.
Isn't he a nice one now?
No, I think he's still Arrow. I swear to God, he's still Arrow. That is by far, aside from the LS2 helmet, those are the 2 ugliest helmets in the sport of motocross, Supercross, or SMX. But the rest of everything that Jason Anderson has going on, absolutely tits. That is a fantastic look. Do we have I haven't looked yet. Do we have Matty back yet?
Oh, we're good. We're in it.
Yeah. All right, sweet.
Faster than his qualifying laps.
Wow.
Way faster, dude.
No doubt.
It's pretty easy to do.
I like it. Question number 4. 450 races he competed in. Thai Masterpool, finished outside the top 10 only once all season. Justin Hill finished in the top 10 in SMX over 50% of the time. They come together this weekend and for the next 3 rounds. Who ends up in front? Checkerz, give me your like who beats who essentially.
So big Justin Hill fan, ended the season with 5, 4, 3 finishes. He was 8 of 9 in the top 10 for on the last 9 races. He's a former Supercross champion. But the problem is with Justin Hill in this situation is we just talked about what's he riding. He was at Mammoth last weekend racing an amateur race and didn't win. He's got a Cowie deal over in for I believe Bud Racing or the WSX series. So he spent some time on that. He was on a KTM for Team Tedder in Supercross. The dude has a ton of talent. I'm a huge Justin Hill fan. And then on the other side, you have Ty Masterpool, who is a fantastic outdoor rider, looks great on the 450. I still remember Loretta Lynn's schoolboy class on a 125, watching Masterpool, thinking he was the most talented rider at Loretta's that year, made the biggest impression on me. And I don't know where that rider's been, because that guy would have translated really well to Supercross. The one thing he has going for him, there is no whoop section. That's going to be a huge advantage for Ty Masterpool. But I cannot bet against.
He's going to get starts, though. He's going to get starts. And we all 3 of us already said that his all 3 of these tracks are going to be super start dependent. I could see Ty Masterpool like being like 6th after the first lap more often than not.
Something super insane is Ty Masterpool was on a stock engine all summer long. That's on nuts. That Checkerz448. He put out right before when he got sick at Indiana that he finally had gotten a pro circuit engine and he was going to have an engine at the last round. So those starts were on a stock Kawasaki. I got to go with the experience of Justin Hill. Again, I think he excels in these formats of it's 3 races, and I think he believes he can beat anyone for 3 races. I would not be surprised to see Justin Hill make some serious waves, an unreal amount of talent. I'm going Justin Hill. MattyB, who you got?
Yeah, this one's going to be kind of boring. I'm going to agree with you. I got Justin Hill also. And I mean, it's no disrespect to Ty Masterpool on this one. It's just I'm not sure if he's ever gotten a top 10 in Supercross before on the 250, and he's never raced it before on the 450. So I just, like you said, I got to go with experience. And Justin Hill's just made for Supercross, and Ty Masterpool is kind of made for outdoors. I mean, he's still waiting and ready to prove us wrong, but that's just kind of my feeling on the 2. That to me wasn't a very hard question to answer. Now you take this, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we might have a different story on our hands. But for where we're at right now, I got to go Justin.
I think it'll be a lot closer than you're expecting.
It might be, because I thought it was going to be a pretty easy one for Hill. But I mean, the hybrid factor is kind of something I might not have factored into this prediction as much as I should have. But I mean, I hope it's close. I hope it's close between all of them, man. I'm ready to see some bar banging.
No doubt. I think in the privateer ranks, it's going to be more of a clash of clans than even in the factory guys, because all the factory guys, they can all ride outdoors, they can all ride indoors. They don't really have a huge disparity as far as talent and speed going from one to the other. Like, gone are the days of Mike Alessi where he can barely get a podium in Supercross, but he's winning outdoor motos all day long. You don't see a lot of that in the factory ranks, but in the privateers, in the regards to a guy like Masterpool, who I don't think he's even signed up for a four Supercross period, versus Justin Hill, who has podiumed. Yeah, the last time he raced a Supercross race, he podiumed. And he's got a SX Lights title, 250 title, whatever you want to call it. So that will definitely be a difference maker. Let's go let's have ourselves a 4-way here. Question number 5: Chisholm, McElrath, Nichols, Josh Hill entering in the 16, 18, 19, and 20 spot respectively. Who finishes best in the series after those 3 rounds? Matt, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna go Nichols, just for the fact that I think the only champion in that group. Yeah, I think him and Shane are the best riders out of that group. And then between Colt and Shane, Shane, he's done World Supercross, but he did it on a 250F, so it's kind of a whole different ball game there. And then he did do some outdoor races on that Yamaha 450. But Colt, I think he's been on his setup a little bit longer. I think he's got some more testing under his belt. he's already done a World Supercross race on the Cowie 450. He's also raced outdoors on it. So I think he probably has a little bit more of a base than Shane does, but it was kind of between Shane and Colt for me, but I'm going to go Colt 45.
What about you, Checks?
Well, it's a tough one. I mean, first of all, you look at Chisholm, he's always going to be there. The one thing about it, though, it's a short series, so that's not as important.
Yeah.
Although it is 2 motos at each of the rounds. So,
yeah, I could see him like stringing together a bunch of 15ths.
Right. That's the thing is like, I could see a one of those guys going like 8-14, but it still puts him right around Chiz overall, which is where they're paying the points for this. So I think that takes him really out of this argument. I think he'll have a tough time beating them just because he doesn't have the flash in the pan results. We just need one of these guys to get hot to do that. McElrath, I just don't think the program's put together that well. I mean, he's been riding a bone stock YZ 450. Like, at some point you need some support to consistently get something done, especially when everybody else is really dialed in and locked in and focused. And Nichols has gone out and done that. He has teamed up with some support from Rick Ware, but also with Bubba Pauly's Mad Parts Cowie team. They're supporting Nichols. So now he has a little bit of structure, a little bit of staff, just a little bit of consistency in his program and people to take care of stuff. So it's not a scramble. That's going to give him a nice base, which I think gives him a leg up. But the one that's coming in behind all of them, and I think will leave in front of them, is Josh Hill. He's been riding a lot. He ended Supercross on a bang. The dude has an unreal amount of talent. He literally went out and raced nationals for the first time in like 14 years or some crap this year to make sure that he got in to get on the gate. He is determined. He's got a YZ 450. That's what tells me Tedder's going to support these guys on the bikes that they're on. I don't see him switching off of that bike. And even if he had to, he was comfortable at the end of Supercross on his KTM, although I know he's liked the Yamaha much better, and that's part of the struggle throughout Supercross for him. I think Josh Hill comes out and he is extremely exciting and extremely competitive in this short format series. I look for Josh Hill to be fresh and strong on a good program.
Sidebar, do we so are you saying you expect Josh Hill to show up on a YZF 450 and
Blacked
Justin
out.
And Justin Hill, did he race Mammoth on a Cowie?
Yes.
Okay, so you think that's going to be like a Tedder Cowie?
That's my guess. I mean,
okay.
I'm totally
and that's
guessing.
Fine, honestly.
Great media guy that I am, but I'm not a media guy. I'm an industry outsider. So
yeah, I'm actually the only one who actually gets the media updates to shit. So yeah, I should probably be on top of that. Although I could text both of them right now and find out. Probably wouldn't get an answer from either one. But that's totally fine. Although a Hill Brother podcast would probably break the internet, or at least break motocross internet. Out of the previous 4, who's gonna finish the worst? Oh, fuck. Checkers, you already answered that. It's gonna your pick is Hill. I'm skipping you because you just gave all your points as to why, unless you really want to chime in. Otherwise I'm gonna give it to Matt.
My pick was Chiz, and I love the dude.
Oh, that's right.
But I think in a 3-race series it doesn't fit his strengths as much. So sorry, Chiz. I think that you'll be good, wrong. But
I think Chiz, who turned pro on a carbureted 4-stroke, is going to, and also Justin Hill or Josh Hill did as well. Both guys on carbureted 4-strokes back in the day. They're going to be better than you think they're going to be.
Yeah, I think I almost had to change my answer on the fly because of how many points he made, but I got to go Josh Hill out of being the worst, just my opinion. I just think the other 3 are a little bit better riders, even though Shane's program probably hasn't came quite together. But I do know the Hills have been doing a lot of different stuff. Like they've been doing their Hill Jam. Josh did come to some nationals, which was totally badass. Like it did put me another spot back, but I thought it was sick that he came out of the woodworks completely to do some nationals to cement himself into SMX. I thought that was cool. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like Chiz is just too consistent. I think Chiz might be just consistently like 1 spot above Josh Hill, but I also, like we were talking about, Josh had that good run in Supercross at the end on the KTM, and even though he does like the Yamaha better, the 23 Yamaha is different than years past, so his setup, his base probably isn't quite as good. It's not as tried and true, and that could be better, but that could also be worse. So I'm going to go with Josh Hill, but Yeah, that was a hard question for me. These guys are all sick.
They certainly are. This next question doesn't get any easier. Question number 7 coming in. AC sits 4th in points. Dylan Friend is 5th in points. Bam Bam sitting 10th in points. Who leaves this season with the most? Of course, with the SMX, they re-rack everything, so everyone starts back to essentially 0. So essentially, over the next 3 rounds, who tabulates the most amount of points out of these 3 guys? AC, Ferrandis, and Bam Bam. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna go Bam Bam just for the fact of how strong he was coming on in Supercross and his outdoors. You know, it wasn't anything special, but I mean, he spent the entire summer off healing up and just showed up for the last 3 rounds and jumped in. And I think we all know, even though not from experience, I think we all know how tough that can be. So I'm not sure how much weight we can really put into Barcia's outdoor results. I feel like he more than likely was just trying to come back to make an impression for Motocross of Nations, if I had to guess. But I just think the other two, you know, we talked about Dylan a little bit earlier about, you know, the retirement and all that. And like you said, people don't usually talk about retirement and then go out and win or do their best results like that. So I'm not sure how to feel about Dylan. And then obviously AC, he's got tons of potential, but he's just been struggling so hard with that, the nerve deal with his arm going numb and stuff, which luckily he shouldn't have any Supercross whoops. So that I think will help his situation out a lot. But just over the course of the 3, I got a good feeling about Bam Bam. He was looking really good in Supercross this year.
Well, you're absolutely right that Bam looked really good in Supercross this year, but he didn't look awesome when he came back in the Nationals. And the one thing about it is if you rush back that I've seen is a lot of times that can knock your confidence a little bit. And maybe he would have been better just to come out firing at the first SMX race. I guess they're smarter than me, most likely. I mean, that's why it's their jobs as team managers and riders and that side of things. So I'm not 100% sold on Bam. And also, you know, he's been, in my opinion, one of the best starters that the sport's ever seen. And honestly, his starts have not been that good as of late. And so I would have to look up his actually official starting position in Supercross, but I don't think it was that good this year. And that's the same thing with Ferrandis. He just doesn't get good starts consistently. So for him to be a contender, I think is really difficult, no matter how fast he is, especially talking about everything I've said about the hybrid tracks and that side of things. Someone that does know a thing about hybrid tracks and is an amazing starter, he's proved it time and time again, is Adam Cianciarulo. And I am banking on the fact it's 20 minutes plus a lap on a little bit longer track, more spread out track, which I think is going to give him more time to rest. Will give him a chance for that arm maybe not to bother him so much. He was coming on pretty strong late in the season. He does come in with a couple more points than those guys. It threw me for a little bit of a loop because I actually did my top 10 predictions before this and somehow forgot AC until I reread this question. But I'm putting Adam Cianciarulo in front of these guys.
AC up front. Honestly, like on raw talent, I have a hard time not just cheering for AC. Like kid growing up, so much talent, so much speed. He's very likable. Unless you happen to be in the Cooper Webb camp. I honestly I want to see good things happen for that kid. One of the craziest thing, like I don't know why I feel this way. I think he's going to be in different gear next year, and that stems from the fact that I haven't seen him in a Fox ad in like 6 months. But yeah, I like AC for me. He's got the speed. He's gonna have the starts, and yeah, the last time we had a hybrid track, the damn kid won the race. So hey, that might be something there. Checkerz, like, are you do you have any sniffs around for the Fox thing with AC? Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to A stars.
Well, I just I have a feeling I've heard that AP might be moving, and I have a feeling Fox would be an awesome fit for him, and
Yes.
that'd be pretty sweet. So with him going there potentially, but I don't know. I mean, Fox has to spend money to have somebody on the track. They have Roxon sitting on the sidelines half the season. Half the damn pro circuit team was sitting on the sidelines on the season. AC the last few years was sitting on the sidelines. Like
the only reason why I feel it, they haven't like really used him in a lot of ads. I just don't know. I don't know if that's just him not being available for shoots or something, because I know sometimes like if like they do most of their ad shoots are either in California or in Florida. Of course, that's where AC is based out of. But like maybe I'm reading into too much into it, but I just haven't seen AC being like a sort of like a flagship rider for them for the last X number of months. And I don't know if I'm just noticing that too much because I'm hypersensitive to it, but yeah.
I'm not sure. And they also have to go after, if they want to go after keeping Joe Shimoda with him moving
They
and
are.
being
Yeah, no, he is. He's there.
So, maybe they had to free up budget somewhere, and I could, I think, they had him down at Loretta's as their guy and that side of things too. And I mean, I think all signs point to him staying
right.
with
And they have Craig now too. And I don't think Craig's back for
speaking of guys
SMX.
not at the racetrack again. Craig is out for SMX.
Yeah, he's out. Okay, fair enough. Okay, question number 8. Garrett Marchbanks, proven that he's a badass on the 450, never missing the top 10, moving up this summer. Does he leave SMX in top 10 points? Checkerz, you get to go first.
As much as I think Marchbanks fits the 450 really well, he has the talent. I think he'll finish in the top 10 in some motos. Let's go back to the crappy starts yet again. He might be worse than Ferrandis at starts. He's unproven on the 450. And the one thing you got to factor in, I mean, I just looked at my top 10 list again to make sure I plugged AC in. And I mean, I'm bumping guys out that have national championships, have Supercross championships that I don't see going to be in the top 10. So I can't put Marchbanks in the top 10. I don't think he gets it done. But I do think he does get some motos in the top 10.
This just in, Checkerz hates Marchbanks. Go ahead, Matt.
This might be a bold take, but I actually have Marchbanks P10 on my list. So I think he's just going to barely squeak it in. And that's obviously there's no data behind that or anything because he's never raced 450 Supercross or anything. But I mean, the kid's huge. He was literally called the man child whenever he was like 14. So he fits that 450 good. I know they've got all kinds of hybrid tracks out the ass down at club that he's been riding every day. I know he's going to be ready. And I mean, he got 6th in points in the outdoors and he missed the first 2 races. He didn't even start 450s until Colorado. And what'd you guys say? He was never outside the top 10. So the consistency's there, even though it's only a 3-round series. I don't think that's enough rounds for him to really mess it up. But this isn't one that I feel all that confident on just because we haven't seen him yet. But that's just kind of the feeling I have. I think he's going to squeak it in there.
Fair enough. Well, he very well could. It's a really, really solid lineup. There's gonna be a lot of speed, and like you guys said, it's gonna be start dependent. I want to give a huge shout out to Checkerz for making this question segment not a psychologically satisfying number like 10. So we're going with 9 questions. Grant Harlan versus the very much non-privateer Frederick Norin, who ends up with more points in SMX as they are seated 11th and 12th respectively. MattyB, you get to kick this off.
Man, if anybody watches my vlogs, you know me and the legend super fan. We love Freddie. I gotta go with Freddie. And I mean that's no disrespect to Harlan. He's had like a dream season. The dude's improved more than anybody I can ever think of. But I got a good feeling about Freddie. I know he's obviously going to be really motivated by the financial aspect of this series, and he's got some good backing. I think he is going to stay with Twisted Tea going in there, so I know that should help. They should have a good setup base and some good support for him. And yeah, I think this one's going to be a close one. I feel like those two are really evenly matched, but I got to go with my heart on this one. I got to go Team Freddie.
Freddie!
Yeah.
That's a good super fan. Love the guy, makes the vlogs absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you knew, but there is a super part of this super motocross thing that's not really Freddie's strong point. Man, I think he's awesome. I think he's one of the coolest guys in the pits. Love the Twisted Tea program, but I got to go with Grant Harlan. Man, he's been consistent indoors, outdoors, does not matter where they have been. I was actually shocked to see these guys this close in points coming into this thing as Freddie and Harlan were, because I thought Harlan's had him covered. I'm glad that you went Freddie so I can get a free point with Grant Harlan. We're riding this damn near in the top 10 at the end of SMX standings when we're done.
Hey, I believe, man. You just got to have faith in your guys.
I have faith in both of you that the rest of the show is going to absolutely breeze by, because we're gonna hit damn near 2 hours on this bitch. So if you're watching right now on Matt Burkeen's YouTube, thank you so much for continuing along with us. I hope that you had some serious time to kill, perhaps a long drive on your hands, or maybe just gotten a huge fight.
Maybe blowing off some work, just listening to this instead of doing something you should be doing. That's all we're looking for.
Absolutely. I hope that this podcast is background noise to you putting a fresh top end in your YZ252 stroke. Maybe not Matt's, but somebody else's YD252 stroke. Of course, the YZ250 being the best-selling motorcycle in motocross for the last, oh, I don't know, forever. So, yeah, that would be awesome. But it's time to make some giant predictions that could only be brought to you by the massive podcast BigMXRadio, which is available on the Verb Podcast Network, hosted by me, your friend Brad Gebhart. The soundtrack to your day. Who do you consider to be the breakout rider for this 2023 SMX Checkerz? You get to go first, even though it's my segment.
I tell you what, it's super, super, super difficult for me to come up with this right now because I didn't think about it ahead of time. And then it's really tough for me.
You wrote the question.
Rider, I know I did. And then I forgot about this question. And then I was thinking, like, who's a breakout? Well, I initially was like, oh, well, Justin Hill could do it, kind of. But then I went through and I convinced myself he's not going to have it by his team situation and all the unknowns there. And then he got beat at an amateur race. And then I realized my breakout rider is someone we have not talked about at all. And he did get mentioned once. You didn't even know if he was racing. So that means he can be a breakout rider. He's a former national champion. I think Dean Wilson is going to be an absolute badass in this 3-race format on hybrid tracks. He's been on that Honda and that program for a while. He's gotten some rest. I think the rest is really important for him and his body and his injuries and that side of things. I hope it goes better than the WSX races are going after he had some rest. But I think that I could definitely convince myself Dean Wilson could be a breakout rider, having a much better SMX series than he did SX series.
Fair enough. Well, sorry to say that you're wrong, but you are the breakout rider for the 2023 SMX season is going to be Shane Moody McElrath. The number 12 in your program, likely number 1 in your heart, especially if you like guys with the middle name Moody. The guy has had, like, to say he's had an up and down 450 go of things would be a little bit of an understatement, although you have to have ups and downs in order for there to be ups and downs. It's been mostly downs since he got onto the big bike, but that just sets him up to be in a perfect position to blow some people's doors off. He's going to spend some time with that Yamaha. He is a good starter. I think good things for him for the SMX, and I don't know if that opens up a spot for a ride next year. I think most of the musical chairs have been already claimed for 2024. But regardless, your SMX breakout rider for the season is going to be Shane McElrath. Go ahead, Matt.
Before you go, Matt, I got to cut in here. Just something crossed my mind. We talked about McElrath doesn't really know what his program is, right? Right. We talked about the Rick Ware thing with Nichols and how they kind of were working with the Mad Parts Cowie team for him. We have Joey Savacci, who doesn't have a program together, and he's part of Rick Ware Racing.
He's 250 SX on the West Coast with Triumph next year.
So that's the rumor I thought I had heard was outdoors, but so he's just not going to show up and not going to race.
Yes.
It is the most confusing management of a career that I've seen for a guy that is so freaking good. Like, it's so hard for me to be a Joey Savacci believer because I believe he has awesome talent. I'm a fan. I want to see the guy race. Go race your freaking motorcycle, please. Sorry for the rant. Matt, take it away. But, what that tells me, Rick Ware's program isn't going to be very solid at SMX if it wasn't enough for Joey Savacci to go maybe make $100,000.
Yes.
I dig the rant, dude. Racers race, and some of these racers aren't racing, so I'm with you. Am I allowed to have 2 of these, or do I got to stick with 1?
The rules are loose here. Rules are real loose.
All right, then 2 it is. I'm going to go with Aaron Plessinger and Garrett Marchbanks. And with AP, I kind of talked about it earlier. He's the Speedway guy. He's going to be praising Dale, and he's going to be raising hell. I already know it. He's going to be feeling good. I know he's motivated to get some of that money so he can donate it into the Cody Gregg Memorial two-stroke race purse. No choice. Thank you, AP. We appreciate you. But I'm definitely looking for big things out of AP. And then with Marchbanks, I touched on it earlier. He's kind of an unknown, a bit of an unknown coming into this, but I just think he's really got a chance to kind of take it the next step in his career with moving up to the 450, which I think suits him a lot better. Even though I have heard some rumblings of him going back down to the 250s for Supercross next year. But I just think he's a 450 guy. He's a big kid. He's aggressive. He rides that thing like it's a 250F. I don't think the power is any issue or anything like that. I'm going Marchbanks and Plessinger. They're going to be barking.
Marchbanks and Plessinger? Those are your two breakout riders?
Yeah, those are my two breakout riders.
Oh, thank you for choosing two when it's a one breakout rider thing. But we'll let Matt break the rules. He certainly breaks enough engines.
I just asked, and I was told it was a loose program, so I picked two.
You're a loose program.
Damn right.
Screw loose program. Who will be the biggest letdown?
Hang on. SMX is super motocross, right? So motocross is part of this. Obviously, yes. That's MattyB and his lack of qualifying, so he should probably be the segment sponsor for this one, Brad.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
/ Matt Burkeen 820, I believe, is the channel. Go check it out. It's a sponsor no one wants to be part of because it's a big letdown. But you won't be let down if you go watch the arena crash videos over on the tube.
Oh yeah, here we go. The letdown segment sponsored by Total Mediocrity and Failure. This one was a really, really hard one for me to answer. But I could be wrong about this one. I kind of feel bad picking it. I had trouble picking one, but I got to go with Masterpool just because I don't know how the prep's going to be. He just had appendicitis, man. He was just in the hospital for appendicitis like 2 weeks ago. It kind of like Marchbanks is an unknown too, but I just have a different feeling about this kind of unknown. I just don't know how he's going to be out there. And just coming off of such a high on the outdoor season, I feel like the expectations from Masterpool have gotten ratcheted up through the roof. So that's why I kind of feel like he would qualify to be a letdown because we're all expecting a lot out of him. And that doesn't mean I don't think he's going to do good. It's just we've been watching him, fight for podiums, be in the top 5 all summer, and I just don't see a world where we see that in SMX.
Fair enough.
You got Fair enough.
My letdown. Oh yeah, it's
everyone's favorite segment to call out is the guy that they don't think is going to perform. Not like putting you on the spot.
Like, I love Frederick Norin, but anything that starts with super usually ends up with him like getting some sort of whack-a-mole where he ends up like way outside of something, and
you're gonna get whacked. You're gonna get whacked by Superfan if you pick Freddie for this. I'll tell you that right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Freddie. I'm sorry, Superfan of whoever of Frederick Norin, but yeah, he's gonna be my disappointment of the summer.
Well, the good thing is failure for him means super entertainment for us because I know that it'll be on all the vlogs and it'll be super exciting to watch for us as long as he's okay. But I hope you're wrong. It would be, it's really tough to pick somebody because they're going to be mad at you and they're going to say, I want to prove you wrong. So you could just pick a whole group like I was about to do and say, honestly, it could be the privateers that have been getting into that top 10. And I think it's really
Jeremy
tough.
Hand.
I think it's gonna be really tough for those guys because now we have a full field.
Oh wait, no, I'm changing my answer. It's Max Miller. It's Max Miller.
Did he get an invite?
He's on the list
to get an invite, I believe. I do think you're correct.
Yeah, he's on there, and it's gonna be Max Miller. I love Max Miller, but he is going to lawn dart himself over and over again, or just like slide out during the LCQ. He will lead. He will lead the like. I love Max Miller. And he's really good at dirt bikes, way better than I will ever be. But he will lead the LCQ guys in most finishes outside the top 5 of LCQs.
So I just want to finish my point that Brad rudely interrupted to talk crap on Max Miller.
Right here, bud.
Max, we love you. And I love all the privateers. And the second part of my point was they aren't going to be the letdown because they're going to be stoked cashing some big ass checks at the end of this that they haven't been able to before. We've seen what the pulp money's done for these guys. Well, there's a whole lot more of it out there with this one even. So I think the letdown is going to be Cooper Webb. I think people have him coming in way up here. And I think mediocre at best is the feeling that I have. So I just crapped on a whole lot of people. Good thing I'm not going to the SMX races because I might get mugged in the pits or outside the pits. Who knows? But I think it's gonna be Cooper Webb.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so this is actually kind of a tough question to answer, but there's multiple ways you can sort of approach this. I like that I get to go last on this, but who needs 2023 SMX to be the most most guarantee a future in the sport? Like who needs to have the best 3 races of their lives in 2023 in order to solidify a good fortune for themselves going forward? MattyB, you get to go first.
Well, I kind of just thought of this answer on the spot, but dare I say SMX as a whole needs a good SMX series to cement themselves for the future? Because, I mean, obviously they've got this contract for however many years, but I mean, if it comes out and sucks in year one, I mean, that's kind of gonna take the air out of the series a little bit. So I think SMX as a whole is kind of under the gun to perform, but I got faith in it. I think it's going to be good. But I got a couple of riders I got my eye on for this one. One is McElrath. We've talked about him a lot. This future is so uncertain with him, and even with Rick Ware, we don't really know what's going on. So I think Shane really needs a good SMX to try to keep his stock high. I had initially thought that Nichols was in the exact same boat, but then I remembered, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but he did sign with Beta, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Nichols not as much. So he's already got something signed, sealed, and delivered. Then the last two, I kind of thought, but these two, I don't know. It kind of does and doesn't matter, I guess, depending on what they're feeling about it. But Ferrandis, just because he doesn't have a ride, he has an uncertain future, and I mean, if he wants to retire, then SMX doesn't matter at all. But if he wants to keep going, I really feel like a good impression on SMX would put him in the best spot he can be in for like a last second spot in case anything opens up or anything like that. And then also AC, he's been struggling for a while, and I'm a fan of the dude as well. And I hope that this kind of hybrid deal where, like you were saying, Chris, there's no Supercross swoops, there's no gnarly rough stuff. Hopefully those two things are good for AC and that nerve problem, and hopefully he can kind of turn it around and get some momentum for 2024, because the dude's been fighting an uphill battle for years now.
I mean, AC's just cruising. He has another year on his deal, and for the first time in since he's been on a 450, I believe he's completed almost all the races. So I will just X him off that list for you. Whether he does well or not, it's been I would say a successful year for him. Good point on Ferrandis needing a ride. Although I think he can go out there and win the damn thing, and I still think he's going to struggle to find a spot for a ride other than the options that he already has available. So I think your other two picks were great. The SMX series, awesome point. But I'm going to agree right with you on the Shane McElrath thing. I think for him to have any sort of a decent ride there where he's at least earning a salary of some sort depends on this. I think he needs to come out and perform. He has struggled, and there's been a few very small flashes of brilliance, but we haven't seen the guy that was competing for 250 Supercross titles over here in America much at all on a 450, if at all. He hasn't really proved himself, and there's not a lot of spots available. So Shane McElrath definitely needs to step it up. And yes, I agree, Nichols would be on that list, but he already signed his deal. He's already signed, sealed, delivered, took a chance to go over to the beta program, which I think will be a pretty sweet deal. I'm glad to see that they announced their riders and what they're doing as soon as, it's kind of available, and not waiting and showing us a frame and an engine.
Shout out to Triumph. They are the official sponsor of this particular show. I love it. All right. So I'm gonna be a little bit boring. I'm gonna just agree with you, Chex. It's gotta be Shane McElrath. The guy needs some good results. Otherwise, he's gonna be on the outside of the sport looking in. The last 24 months of his career have been just a question mark. The guy is technically the reigning Supercross world champion in the 250 class. But that was a 2-race series, and it was a pilot series, and I don't know what you really call that. When he does ride that series, he's got the number 1 on his bike. But at the same time, 3 years ago, he was on Star Racing Yamaha, had the world by the tail, and he hadn't been on 9 450 teams at that point. And then now, it's just, he's ridden for everybody. He's almost like the 2023 version of late career Billy Laninovich, where he's just kind of bouncing around like a ping pong ball. Don't love it for him. He needs to go get some points so that he can solidify himself as someone who demands a salaried ride. Gentlemen, it is time to put your money where your mouth is. We have a bet on the line, and it's time to up the ante big time. Let's do our top 10 predictions. If you're within two, you get 1 point. If you're within one, you get 2 points. And if you're on the money, you get three. All of these will be added to our Verb Moto Wiener Wiener Chicken Diener points at the crown in order to crown a champion. So with that being said, I'm going to have to go back and submit my picks for that stuff just so that I can get all of those amazing points. And I'm actually going to kick things off as well. So my top 10 list of my 9 through 8th, and I'm gonna announce my 9th through 8th, and Checkerz is going to do the same.
10 9 8 10 9 8
10 9 8. Yeah, 10 through 8th. 10 9 8. And then Checkerz will go, and then Matt will go, and then I'll do my 7 through 5th and so forth. So let's crack straight into these things. In the 10th spot, I'm gonna make this super easy on myself and go Justin Hill. Justin Hill in the 10th place spot, just behind Justin Barcia and Ken Roxon.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I'm making notes here so that we can actually verify these later and award points. What's absolutely crazy is my 10th spot, I also have Justin Hill. And I don't think 10th is actually a bad thing if you look at the list as we go down these.
So that's super
the guys
solid,
that
actually.
He's finishing behind. It's back to a stacked field. I think he's super talented, super good. I also agree with your 9th pick, Brad. I can't believe it that you also have Barcia way down here. All the things I talked about earlier, he wasn't that good when he came back in outdoors. I'm not sold on his starts. I'm not sold that he's 100%. And I'm also not sold that he has all that much to ride for. I think he's enjoying being out there right now. But I think right now, the Super Motocross Championship doesn't hold the prestige that it will in the future. And I think he's looking towards off-season Supercross. Bam Bam in 9th. And in 8th place, I have poor starts, great speed, a roller coaster of races. Dylan Ferrandis, I think he will be our 8th place finisher at the end of SMX. MattyB, take it away, 10th through 8th.
All right, I think I'm going to change it up a little bit from you guys. 10th, I have got Garrett Marchbanks. I just think, like I said before, I think he's a 450 guy. I think he's going to break out and show us something in the tighter confines, even though it's super duper Motor X Cross X. So it should be fun to watch that. But 9th, I'm going to go with Ferrandis. I just don't see the starts. I don't know about the motivation. I don't really know anything about Ferrandis. I kind of just have the feeling that unless he finds a new spark to want to not retire, I feel like he might just kind of be out there going through the motions. So I've got Ferrandis 9th, and 8th, I'm going to go with AC, just for the fact that I feel like he's really trying to make sure he gets through the season all the way healthy. And I mean, he's gotten this far, so I doubt he's going to want to completely throw it away. And I mean, he has led some motos outdoors and all, but I mean, all the way through Supercross, I kind of feel like that was just where he slotted in. And I feel like this is a lot more like Supercross than it is motocross. And I mean, I feel like that's doing him a disservice putting him in 8th. But I mean, when I look at all the guys I have ahead of him, it's cutthroat out there.
I love it. This is going to get absolutely buck wild. In my 7th place spot, I'm going to put Dylan Ferrandis, followed by Dylan Ferrandis, Jason Anderson, and then in my 5th place spot, I'm going Cooper Webb.
Matt, run the 7 through 5.
7 through 5. 7, I got Jason Anderson. I liked what you're about the flat turns and all that stuff, but I don't know. He's had a lot of Siggy's diapers to change, so I feel like we might be on a little bit of a rugged program. So I got P7 for Team Fried. 6th spot, I've got Bam Bam Barcia. He'll be leaving more than 6 shades of red plastic on everybody else's bike, but I think he's in a little better spot than you think he is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I guess we'll find out on Saturday, but I just don't think Bam Bam really goes out there without heart and without really wanting it. That's just kind of how he rides. He's got the heart on his sleeve, whether it matters or not. I mean, hell, even if it's like for 3rd in a heat race that means nothing and for no money, he'll still try to break your tib fib. So I got Barcia 6th. And then in the 5th spot, yeehaw, baby, I got the Cowboy AP. Obviously, he's the speedway guy. I think he's had a really good season of momentum. And I feel like I've hardly heard anybody talk about this, and even I don't even know if I realized this until I watched the preview show today. But AP's coming into this thing second, so he's sitting good on the points right now. The only point I will make about that is with the point system, it's like doubled in the second round and then it's tripled in the third round. I feel like this initial seeding, I feel like it's not quite as relevant just because of how many points are at stake in the second and third round. But I mean, so far throughout this whole year, AP's been second. So I'm going to go AP fifth.
All right, I'm going to call you out a little bit. You said that he's going to be the breakout surprise guy, and then you put him in fifth. That's not a surprise for AP to be a fifth place guy. He's coming into it second. He's had plenty of top fives. I think you had to have him top three to be a breakout guy. I'm calling you out, MattyB. You don't even actually believe in your guy.
Honestly, you're kind of right, because as I was explaining myself, I was already in my head moving him up one more spot from where I had him right now. So let me on the fly put Ken Roczen fifth.
Look at that. Just changing things here. So now if he gets the fifth spot, I get extra points.
I talked to myself right out of it, man. I do got to believe in my guy. I don't know what's wrong with me, man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
but
I guess I have about as much belief too.
We could see. Yeah, I mean, when I say breakout, maybe less than I'm saying like a points position. Like I'm saying maybe we see an SMX win at AP. That's what I'm really looking for.
Would love to see an SMX win. It'll be interesting to see how these races factor into like all-time records and stuff like that, because like, is it going to be a national win? Is it going to be a outdoor win? What is it? Is it a whole new category?
And there's motos too to go along with it.
Right. Moto win. Oh, that's going to be a whole schmozzle.
The Volt's going to be broken.
The Volt is going to get broken. I get to go fourth and fourth.
I still haven't done my 7 through 5 yet.
Do it then.
I'll make it quick though. I've already said it a bunch of times. I said he was going to be the disappointment, that he's not going to perform as high as everyone thinks he is on the new Yamaha. I have Cooper Webb all the way back in the number 7 spot. Ouch. On the flip side, I think that he's going to stand out, and maybe I should have made him my breakout guy because you guys don't believe in him. I have Adam Cianciarulo, his awesome starts, the hybrid tracks, the no whoops, the no hills, Adam Cianciarulo 6th, and I believe in AP on the speedway tracks well enough to also put him in 5th now that I made Matt move him out of that spot so I can make up some points on him. Brad, now you can give me your 4th and 3rd.
Well, I believe in both those guys way more than you do, because I have Adam Cianciarulo in 4th. I have Plessinger in the 3rd place spot. You guys can go talk about the rest of it. Honestly, I'm a fan of both those guys. They make being a professional motocross racer look like a fun job to have.
Well, for my 4th and 3rd, I bet you that you guys are going to be super surprised by my 4th one. People probably are going to shut this show off as soon as they hear this because they're going to think we don't know what we're talking about. But the fact of the matter is the short series requires consistency. You can't crash. You're not going to be able to pass. And Chase Sexton cannot crash. You have to make it through all the races. You can't just keep yard sailing over and over. Yeah, he's built like a brick shithouse, but you can't just keep cartwheeling over and over. I think one crash, Chase is going to be pissed that he doesn't have a championship contention. He's going to be over the Honda. Something like that's going to happen. I don't have Chase Sexton in my top 3. Who I do have in, Jason Anderson. I think he's going to be a badass. I've already explained why. I think he's building momentum. I think he's focused enough for these 3 races and believes that he can win this dang thing. So I think he'll be 3rd. MattyB.
All right, boys, 4th. I guess I just switched it on the fly. I have no integrity whatsoever and no choice. But 4th, I'm going AP. And I did say he was going to be a breakout. I'm not saying 4th in points is the breakout deal just because he did come in 2nd. I think he got 3rd in the outdoors. So he's kind of been a breakout guy all season. And especially if he would have held on for that win in Detroit, that would have probably cemented him as the breakout guy for the year. And that sure cemented me having a horrible evening after I watched that happen. But yeah, AP, I'm going 4th, and I want to say a hot take that AP wins at least a moto, an SMX moto. I just got a good feeling about AP taking the Checkerz in something. And then 3rd, kind of similar to you, but I have a little bit more faith. 3rd, I'm going Sexton just because, like you said, one crash and that kind of takes you out of it with only a 3-race series. I do know he's really looking forward to that KTM, and I've even heard that, like we don't know anything about Motocross of Nations yet, but I've even heard some rumblings that Chase wants to race Motocross of Nations on his KTM instead of his Honda with like 2 weeks of prep time. So I guess you guys can read between the lines and see what that kind of says about his thoughts and feelings on the Honda right now. So I'm not really quite sure where his head and setup and all that's at. So I'm going to go Sexton third, but I also think he will more than likely be the fastest guy there at all three races.
Yeah, he's gonna be fast, and yeah, his body language says, "Get me the fuck off of this Honda." I've never seen someone actually be that excited to get off of a factory Honda. The very thought of that makes my mind absolute boggle. Now, right now, we'd most likely be moving on to our champion second place spot, but I don't have sound drops for this, but like input here, the sound of a mic, record scratching. Because
We'll just do that one instead.
there we go. A sound from a 1950s like murder mystery TV show. We have everyone who's watching this. If you've made it to this point, you have your chance. You have yourself a chance to win. All you've got to do is comment below your favorite prediction of this preview. We will select one random winner to win a Race Tech prize pack. MattyB, take it away with your second and first finishers in the SMX.
Second place, I guess this is probably going to go pretty against what you guys are thinking because I've already heard where you guys slotted this guy, but I'm going number 2 in P2. I'm going Cooper Webb, and I don't really, like I've said a few times, I don't have a whole lot of data to go off of, but I know he's got that chip on his shoulder, and I bet you it's extra chippy right now. He just went down without even really being able to finish the fight in Supercross. So I know that didn't sit well with him. And also, like I was saying earlier, like he's just not that kind of guy that's going to go out there and, try to get fourth, fifth, sixth. Like that's not how he operates. If he can't win or go for the win, or at least think he's going to be able to go for the win, I don't think he's into it. So I think he's committed. I think he really loves that team. I think he's comfortable over there, and it's kind of back to his roots. I know he really thrived over there on the 250 program. He's back with Swanepoel. He's back with Bobby Reagan. And I mean, I know you guys aren't feeling great about it, but I really do think this is the revival Coop's going to need. I know he wasn't happy at KTM with a number of things, not even including the bike. So I think he's going to be in a good place. I think I could see him coming out and at least winning a moto at Charlotte just because of the location. I mean, last time he raced here, he beat Hurlings and all the GP guys. So he's a local. He's from really close to Charlotte, or he's lived really close to Charlotte before, and he's going to have tons of fans, hometown crowd. I've got Cooper Webb for number 2, and then I guess that leaves us with the obvious choice of number 1. And I hate to be boring on this, but I got to go Jet Lawrence. I mean, the dude hasn't lost. I don't even remember the last time he's lost, actually. But if I was Jet and I wanted to get rid of some of this pressure, what I would do is I would go get second in the first SMX race at Charlotte just to get that perfect season pressure off, and then I'd go win out the rest of them. But yeah, I wish I could come in with a hot take on who I think is going to come up with an upset victory or something like that. But I mean, the dude's 22-0. Like I can't see it really changing now. But I mean, anything can happen in racing. That's why we sit down and watch him every weekend. I mean, we didn't think Tomac was going to go out with an Achilles or that Cooper was going to get his head smashed. I mean, shit happens. It's crazy. It's wild. And it's a series we've never seen before. So, I mean, those are my predictions, but I've got about as much faith in those as I did in myself to qualify for those last few nationals.
Well, I will agree with you on the champion thing, and it would be great to really mix things up. But I think just like SMX is the future, so is Jet Lawrence. The dude, his starts have been probably more impressive than his results. Is consistently 250 or 450. He's been putting himself at the front of the pack that avoids trouble when it comes to these things. That's what it's all about. He's going to be in the mix. I don't think Jet Lawrence gets beat, but I will throw a little bit of a surprise in there. I have all the way up in the number 2 spot aboard the Suzuki, kicking ass and his dirt bike at the same time, Ken Roczen. I was not a believer in Ken Roczen at all coming into this, but guess what? The last time that we raced a series that was 3 races or less, World Supercross, baby, and he's got the number 1 plate in it. And that definitely is just as deep as this SMX field. I'm kidding, of course. But I do believe short series, Roczen comes out firing, his body's rested. That's one thing that he's always struggled with, is his health and needing rest. He's had the rest. He's fired up. He believes in himself. He is going to come out absolutely firing. Throughout history, he's been a great starter. I'm guessing that they got that Suzuki with the extra time dialed in on the starts. I think Kickstart Kenny is Jet's biggest competition in this championship and comes home in the number 2 spot.
Brad. Also, this just in for 250 SMX. I think Chris Bloss is on Phoenix Honda.
Yep.
That is
The guy from Phoenix, riding for Phoenix, aboard his Phoenix Race Tech suspension, Chris Blows.
Yeah, that's so much Phoenix going on there. That is ridiculous. He's also running
Phoenix handlebars too.
No one would run
That'd
those.
Be great.
They're ODR bars, but it's a Bell helmet with Fox gear. So I guess that's I guess I don't know.
The gear might not be in yet either.
Yeah, it's good looking stuff though. I haven't seen that colorway for Fox though. For champions, give me Jet Lawrence for the second place spot, and give me Chase Sexton with your win.
Wow, let's go. Switch it up, Big MX.
Switch it up. Yeah, I'm just gonna mic drop on you guys. I think Chase gets it done. I think he's gonna be fast. I think he's got a huge chip in his shoulder. He's got something to prove. I totally do agree with you guys. If something goes sideways, he's gonna he's gonna roll out of the pits with just middle fingers in the air and just like see you in 2024, or at MXDN. But regardless, yeah, I think the guy goes out and gets it done, and he's your reigning Supercross champion, and this is Super Motocross. This isn't just motocross, and there's going to be a whole lot more guys on the line screaming into that first turn than there has been all summer long at these nationals for Jet to deal with. So I don't think he's going to have the 1.2 as an average start throughout SMX. And I like Chase's starts. Could he wash the front? He absolutely could. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Final thoughts.
You did predict, I believe, for Supercross, Seth Hammaker winning a championship, and that just shows how much you guys need to believe in Brad's predictions. But you can go with it.
Yeah, and had he not broken himself into a million pieces, then I would have been proven right.
I'm a big
fan. I love making ham. Let's be honest here. I could go with the ham sandwich any day of the week. Final thoughts here, boys. Like now they're sort of like they're talking about. Like one of the points they talked about in the press conference is that now moving forward with the fact that we have SMX championship as like sort of a third championship to be won, motocross and supercross will sort of now be looked upon or looked at as the conference championships. Like say if you win like the NFC championship game and the AFC championship game in the NFL, and the Super Bowl being SMX. Which of course, like no one remembers who won if you don't win the Super Bowl, nobody remembers who won those conference championships. Do either one of you feel like that's going to be the case, that like later on, like years down the road, we won't really remember who won what Supercross championship or which motocross championship? I struggle to see that, but also we're in the first year of this. Is that what we evolve to is my last sort of question.
You want to take it, Matt?
Yeah, I'll rip it. I personally don't really see it coming to that, just because I mean I know we're already changing with SMX in general, but moto fans, we've been doing this a certain way for a long time. The fans are really cool. What's that?
50 years we've been doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't think that people are ready to just give up the thought of oh man, like the Supercross, the motocross champion, that doesn't matter. You know, it's not like in football, you know, there was a long time where the conference champions were it, and then it was like, oh wait, now we got this new thing called the Super Bowl. So like this is kind of a different dynamic, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think anybody can really predict that. I am excited to see if it's able to grow the sport like Chris thought it had the potential to do, but yeah, I'm just excited for it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, just something new, and more, like I said, more racing is always good in my book.
Yeah, more racing and less off season is definitely a win. I'm going to tell you that the real answer to this question will come in year number 6, because they have a 5-year deal for this thing. In 5 years, if all the money, all the press, all this, everything as far as the direction of the sport is angled at this SMX thing becoming the championship, eventually everybody will follow suit. It'll become more the norm. Right now, this title, it's definitely not looked upon that, but I guarantee when those checks start hitting bank accounts, it's going to start to change things. If the eyeballs go to SMX, just like we talked about earlier, I could totally see it. And so right now, no, it absolutely does not. The most prestigious title is still that Supercross title, followed by the outdoor one, followed by SMX right now in 2023. But when you look back at 2023 in 6 years from now or 10 years from now, if SMX succeeds and continues, it means it's working. And you'll look back at it and say, that was the SMX champion. They were the first SMX champion, and it will be the most important one. So I think it really, if SMX is successful, it is the most successful or important championship moving forward. But that's why you have to wait till year number 6. Does this contract get renewed? Because I'm guaranteed they're going to learn some stuff. They're going to go through changes. They're going to focus on making it better. They invested millions upon millions into this thing. They're not going to give up easily. And I think that it could be very, very, very important if that's the direction that the sport goes. But we have 50 years of history that we have to change people's thinking of. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
It certainly won't. And for many reasons, first and foremost being the fact that motocross, supercross, like I still consider it as, like, when I talk about, when I tell people I cover the sport of motocross. Yes, like supercross is the indoor version of motocross. Like, to me, they're not two different sports. They're like, you don't say I work in the supercross industry, you work in the motocross industry. Mainly because that's what people understand when you, if you were to tell them what you do. They don't understand what you do in the motocross industry, mainly because it's impossible to really explain what it is. But in my opinion, the outdoor championship, whether it's 11 rounds or 12 rounds, or when it was a 450 or 500 and 250s, were I think 6 rounds each or 7 rounds each at certain times. Regardless, I still think the premier class motocross championship is still, in my mind, the premier, the most coveted championship to be won in the entire sport, in any discipline that you can think of, whether it's supercross, motocross. That's my opinion. That the outdoor title in the either the 125/250 or the 250/450 championship, though, that is to me the most relatable. That is what like fans, it's what matters to them. It's what they watch. That's what sells oil and engines and chains and sprockets and seat covers and whatever else. It's the weekend warriors like myself who still go to the races, and when they watch an outdoor national, they can relate to it. They can watch amateur day, or they can ride amateur day rather, and that's still, they can put themselves in that. I've never spun a lap on a supercross track, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. When I see supercross, I see it more as like entertainment. It's more of a ballet. And it's not quite the same fist fight that an outdoor national is. And that's just my opinion of it. That's just how I perceive it. And maybe that's different for somebody else. That's totally fine. Obviously, supercross garners like almost like 80,000 people show up to these stadiums to watch on a particular night. I'm sure the TV does better, mainly because it's on a Saturday night in prime time rather than in the middle of the day on Peacock, which I don't know about you guys, but I would rather be riding my motocross bike at 1 o'clock on a Saturday rather than watching them. That's just that's maybe the biggest fatal flaw of motocross. It happens to happen when the enthusiasts of the sport are participating in it. Just the way it goes. And obviously, it's a lot easier to bring a sponsor out to Anaheim Stadium than it is to take them out to Unadilla. Because MattyB, you know all about going to Unadilla. Where the hell is New Berlin, New York? Nobody knows. But that's just the way things are. Do I see the SMX World Championship becoming the preeminent, like the most coveted championship? Like you said, Checkerz, maybe in 10 years from now, if they're still pumping crazy amounts of attention to it, and it actually starts to become this sort of grand national championship where, like, okay, you had an awesome supercross season, you had an awesome motocross season, maybe you didn't win either title, but you put yourself in a position to win that ultimate championship at the very end. Maybe that turns into something. But honestly, it's going to have to be a wait and see thing. We're in year 1 of this thing, and all I got to say is I'm excited to see some awesome racing. I don't know if you guys are either one of you listening to me anymore. This is, if at this point in the video, if you're watching, this is the angle that you would be looking up to giving Matty a blowjob. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And like, he is just looking down at you as you're just demonstrating the best impression of the
All right,
Gluck
yeah,
3000.
okay, yep.
Jesus Christ. Maddie's half asleep while I'm like on my fucking soapbox over here.
I'm just trying to keep the phone steady, boys. Nothing more, nothing less.
You keep something steady for me. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. I don't know. I just went off on a bit of a rant there, but that's what I think. Honestly, like to me, it's motocross because we grew up watching motocross. We grew up racing motocross. To me, that's what I relate to.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm drinking the marketing Kool-Aid, but maybe I'm just drinking Kool-Aid because I have this vision of what I would like to see happen from it, and I want to see it work and I want to see it grow, because ultimately at the end of the day, I am stoked that the riders are making more money and that as fans, we're getting more racing. We have less off season. And I tell you what, I hate the off season. I'll watch a damn arena cross. I'll watch a local arena cross. I'll watch bar to bar from 2005 over and over again. I like watching racing. And so give me more racing and I'm all about it. So that's why I hope that this thing works. And if we can have more riders making more money, I am all in.
This is all you need right here. Anyone who's watching this, if you'd like to send me a empty external hard drive with at least 1 terabyte of space, I will give you everything that you see here, which is a terabyte of races from 1970 all the way to 2016. This could be yours. I will charge you nothing. I will mail it back to you at your expense.
What a guy. What a guy. And now you're going to have SMX races to add to it.
Yes, and the stats for them. I don't know how those. Like, I don't envy Clinton Fowler. They have to be something different. Can we get to the bottom of that? Like, is it going to be? It's not going to be a Supercross main, right? Like, it's not. That's not going to contribute to like 72 wins.
The sport is just starting now.
Yeah, like it's zero.
New. All the other records mean absolutely nothing. The only thing that matters is the Super Motocross World Championship 2023. Saturday. Get your tickets now. You're going to pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge of it. I think that is a good way to go out on this thing. Boys, it has been absolutely awesome.
I like it. Thanks to Race Tech for making this pot. Oh, I never even hit record.
You're lying because I see it say recording in the top left corner.